Right, Carl LoBue, Nature Conservancy is going to talk about where are the bunkers this last year, right?
Yeah, where are they?
And possibly, if there's enough time, a little bit about that boating initiative.
Yes.
Okay.
What's
Yeah,
what?
go backwards,
Okay.
and that's your pointer.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And
Hi, everybody.
That's your timer right
Very good. Carl LoBue, I lead the Oceans Program for the Nature Conservancy, and I got to say, annually, this is one of my favorite events, and it's really, I want to thank the organizers. So if you spend a lot of time on the water like I do, you might have heard people asking, where are the bunker? And I'm going to give it away. It's not this guy, it's not this seal, and it's not all his friends. So I've just got 10 minutes here, so I want to just let you know the flow of how I'm going to talk. I want to give you brief context for folks who aren't as steeped in menhaden. I could talk about menhaden all day long, but I won't. And kind of give an update on the current management and the dilemma that we're in right now, how to stay informed, and then in the last 2 minutes, talk about boating and whale safety. Totally different topic. So just, if you're not aware, Atlantic menhaden is the largest fishery in the Atlantic by volume, and we don't eat it. So what do we catch it for? We catch it to make industrial products, like fish food and dog food and omega-3 pills and fertilizer, salmon feed, and then we catch it for bait for crab and lobster fisheries and many other different fisheries. It's important to understand the context of the other species that are used for bait and that represent our forage base and what's the status of those right now. And Atlantic herring, Atlantic mackerel, and river herring, which there's often talks about river herring here, are all depleted. And so it's put a lot of pressure on menhaden as bait, but also it's sort of elevated its importance as a forage base. Bait fishing happens in almost every state. These are the guys right here in Riverhead on my side of the screen using small beach seines. This is pound trap fishermen in Maryland. And there's some larger boats involved in the bait fishery too, particularly in New England and in New Jersey. But the lion's share of the harvest, over 70%, are in the industrial side of the fishery. This fishery has really been consolidated in the last 30 or 40 years to a single company that's now a subsidiary of Cook Seafood, which is a big Canadian seafood company, and they operate out of this facility in Reedville, Virginia. There's not much else in Reedville, Virginia, other than some farms. You can see it's a pretty big factory. They employ a lot of these employment is seasonal. These guys don't have jobs in the wintertime this time of year, but they it's an important employer, and they get a lot of attention, political attention in Virginia. So where does this fishery occur? And this fishery occurs largely. So this is Chesapeake Bay here. This is where Reedville is. You can see they do a lot of their fishing activity inside Chesapeake Bay, and this fishing inside the bay is really controversial. And there's some real problems happening in the bay. They occur outside the bay, and then they use these spotter planes to look for fish all the way up the coast. If you saw Danielle Brown's talk out there on whales and Gotham whale, this is a New York bite here. So they come all the way up here and fish right where our whales are feeding. This is one of the plane tracks here looking for fish all the way out at Montauk Point. This fishery was largely unregulated. Really, it was completely unregulated by a group called the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission until 2012. I was at this very contentious meeting where we got the first ever real management plan for Atlantic menhaden. I won't get into it too much, but you'll see Virginia got the lion's share of the harvest, New Jersey second. And it cut the harvest from the previous 3 years by 20%. What that did is it left a lot of fish in the water to grow a little bit larger, to start moving up north into their historic range. And then we started to see scenes like this. In 2013, 14, 15, this is when Gotham whale started doing whale watching. And then many of you, I see, it's great to see so many young people. You might think it was always like this, because it's been like this for about the last 10 years. Seeing all these great wildlife scenes related to the foraging on Atlantic menhaden. Fisheries management is, if you're in the conservation side of things, more characterized in losses than in wins when it comes to policy. And we had a bunch of different losses in the years subsequent to that. Rejection of ecological reference points, a continuing and increasing of the harvest quota. But in 2019, 2020 were pretty good years. In New York State, there's a lot of faces in here that helped us to get a purse seining ban in New York State. This is now a law. We don't allow those big nets in New York State waters anymore. And also, we got a cap to how many fish they could take out of Chesapeake Bay. That's still a lot of fish, 51,000 metric tons of fish. But it is a cap. And then we got the ecological reference points that we wanted. And then we got the total. You're going to see TAC on here. TAC means the total allowable catch. That's how many fish we can take out of the Atlantic. Sorry about that. That was set using the ecological reference points. So more recently, as we're getting closer and closer to now, from 2022 to 25, the bait fishery, the guys who harvest these fish for bait, and the guys who harvest it in reduction really kind of aligned together to demand an increase in quota. The model said that that was okay, and so the quota was increased to 233,000 metric tons. We're talking about billions of fish at this point. The state allocations changed to give the bait guys a little bit more fish, but this I'm going to come back to. There's technical concerns with the model parameters were still looming. There's a guy named Jerry Alt who was really concerned about one of the model parameters, the natural mortality used in the model. Meanwhile, in the real world, not around one of those management tables, the larger older menhaden that we had become reliant on here in New York started to disappear. Bait catches, like our guys, the fish just weren't coming here. They couldn't catch any bait. Osprey, this is important. Osprey chicks are starving. This is particularly a problem in the saltier parts of Chesapeake Bay. The osprey rely on the big adult menhaden. That's their main feed, especially when there's no river herring around in the early spring. The only good news here is young of the year menhadens still seem to be doing okay, the small ones. So now, just very late in this last year, the scientific community came back and said, you know what, guess what? That guy who was complaining that we were using the wrong natural mortality rate, he was right. And we were wrong. We were totally overestimating the number of fish that were in the ocean. And in order for us to achieve the goals of the management plan, the harvest needs to be cut by 55%, or actually 54%. The managers sort of scoffed at that and said, oh, that would be too hard on our fishermen. They debated this for a long time and ultimately decided to cut the harvest by 20%, which is far short of what was needed. But they put off making changes to the following 2 years. So, where are we at now? So our fishing mortality rate is going to be higher than what we want for this coming year, 2026. But the total allowable catch has not yet been set for 2027 and 2028. The debate on that is going to happen this summer, and a decision is going to be happening on the fall. There are opportunities to weigh on that. And then the other big decision that is pending is on the bay cap. The folks down in Chesapeake Bay really want to see the number of fish removed from Chesapeake Bay shrunk. Now, there's other things going on the policy arena. There's many bills in the Virginia legislature that are probably going to go nowhere. So how do you keep track on all this? I don't expect you to see all this, but it's not through me. But I have a sheet. This sheet is on our table outside, so come out and you can take a picture of this. And I want to leave, I know, Phil, catch me in the hallway or whatever. I got 1 minute left. I spent a lot of time in the ocean. I'm seeing way, way, way too many whales getting hit by boats and entangled in fishing gear. It's not all big commercial ships, and it's not all commercial fishing gear. And so we put together a course. There's more information at our table, but I want to just show a 1 minute video to give you an introduction to that.
Off New York's coast, whale sightings like these were once rare. Thanks to decades of conservation work, our waters are now teeming with marine life. These days, when boating or fishing, you're likely to come in close contact with whales. Seeing whales up close can be incredible, but it can also be dangerous for you, your crew, and the whales. No captain wants to hit a whale, yet it happens all too often. Collisions can damage boats, injure crew, and for whales, the harm is often severe, if not fatal. As captains, it's our responsibility to reduce risks, and we can. It requires awareness and vigilance. Whether you're a new captain or have been on the water for decades, taking this short course will help you better protect your boat, your crew, and the whales we share our waters with. Thank you for doing your part.
So this is a free course. It's online at that website, and we're working really hard. We have a bill just passed the state assembly that's to make this a mandatory part of this New York State safe boating curriculum. So thank you very much. I know I'm 30 seconds over.